Chapter 11, Managing Project Teams. The objectives of the chapter are to identify key characteristics of a high-performance project team, to appreciate the impact situational factors have on project team development, to develop strategies for developing a high-performance project team, to build skills that encourage functional conflict, yet discourage dysfunctional conflict, to understand the challenges of managing virtual project teams, and lastly, to recognize the importance of project managers' behavior in shaping how a team. The magic and power of teams is captured in the term synergy. There is positive and negative synergy. The essence of positive synergy can be found in the phrase, "the whole is greater than the sum of the parts." Conversely, negative synergy occurs when the whole is less than the sum of the parts. Mathematically, these two states can be symbolized by the equations. Characteristics of high-performance teams. The following is a set of characteristics commonly associated with high-performing teams that exhibit positive synergy. One of the most popular models identifies 5 stages through which groups develop into effective teams. During the initial stage, the members get acquainted with each other and understand the scope of the project. They begin to establish ground rules by trying to find out what behaviors are acceptable with respect to both the project and interpersonal relationships. In other words, forming. Step 2 in storming. At the same time, this stage is marked by a high degree of internal conflict. Members accept that they are part of a project group, but resist the constraints that the project and the group put on their individuality. There is conflict over who will control the group and how decisions will be made. And the third step are norming. This one is in which close relationships develop and the group demonstrates cohesiveness. Feelings of camaraderie and shared responsibility for the project are heightened. In performing, the team operating structure at this point is fully functional and accepted. Group energy has moved from getting it to know each other and how the group will work together to accomplishing the project goals. Adjourning. For conventional work groups, performing is the last stage of their development. However, for project teams, there is a completion phase. During this stage, the team prepares for its own disbandment. High performance is no longer a top priority. Instead, attention is devoted to wrapping up the project. The model provides a framework for the group to understand its own development. Experience and research indicate that high-performance project teams are much more likely to develop under these conditions. 10 or fewer members per team. The members volunteer to serve. Members serve on a project from the beginning to the end. They're assigned full time. They're part of an organizational culture that fosters cooperation and trust. They report solely to the project manager. All relative functional areas are well represented. The project involves a compelling objective, and they are located within conversational distance of each other. It is rare that a project manager is assigned a project that meets all of these conditions. It is important for a project manager and team members to recognize the situational constraints they are operating under and do the best they can. It would be naive to believe that every project team has the same potential to evolve into a high-performance team. Under less than ideal conditions, it may be a struggle just to meet project objectives. Ingenuity, discipline, and sensitivity to team dynamics are essential to maximizing the performance of a project team. Connie Gersich's research suggests that groups don't develop in a universal sequence of stages, as suggested by the five-phase model that I earlier covered. Her research, which is based on the systems concept of punctuated equilibrium, found that the timing of when groups form and actually change the way they work is highly consistent. Her research reveals that each group begins with a unique approach to accomplishing its project that is set in its first meeting and includes the behavior and roles that dominate Phase 1. Phase 1 continues until one half of the allotted time for the project completion has expired, regardless of the actual amount of time. At this midpoint, a major transition occurs that includes the dropping of the group's old norms and behavioral patterns and the emergence of new behavior and working relationships that contribute to increased progress towards completing the project. The last meeting is marked by an accelerated activity to complete the project. Project managers play a key role in developing high-performance project teams. They recruit members, conduct meetings, establish a team identity, create a common sense of purpose or shared vision, manage a reward system that encourages teamwork, orchestrate decision-making, resolve conflicts that emerge within the team, rejuvenate the team when energy wanes. Project managers take advantage of situational factors that naturally contribute to team development while improvising around those factors that inhibit team development. In doing so, they exhibit a highly interactive management style that exemplifies teamwork and manage the interface between the team and the rest of the organization. The process of selecting and recruiting project members will vary across organizations. Two important factors affecting recruitment are the importance of the project and the management structure being used to complete the project. Often for high-priority projects that are critical to the future of the organization, the project manager will be given virtual carte blanche to select whomever he or she deems necessary. Experienced project managers stress the importance of asking for volunteers. However, this desirable step oftentimes is outside the manager's control. Still, the value of having team members volunteer for the project as opposed to being assigned cannot be overlooked. Agreeing to work on a project is the first step toward building personal commitment to the project. Such commitment will be essential to maintain motivation when the project hits hard times, and extra effort is certainly required. When selecting and recruiting team members, project managers naturally look for individuals with the necessary experience and knowledge or technical skills critical for the project completion. At the same time, there are less obvious considerations that need to be factored into the recruitment process. If the project is complex and fuzzy, then a manager wants people who are good at working under uncertainty and have strong problem identification and solving skills. Sometimes the people who are most available are not the ones wanted for the team. Managers should be wary of people who know too much about a specific technology. They may be technology buffs who like to study but have a hard time setting down or sitting down and doing the work. The credibility of a project is enhanced by the reputation of the people involved in the project. Managers are wise to recruit individuals who already have a good working relationship with key stakeholders. Ambition, initiative, and energy. These qualities can make up for a lot of shortcomings in other areas and should not be underestimated. The first project kickoff meeting is critical to early functioning of the project team. There are typically three objectives project managers try to achieve during the first meeting of the project team. The first is to provide an overview of the project, including the scope and the objectives, the general schedule, method, and procedures. The second is to begin to address some of the interpersonal concerns captured in the team development model. The third and most important objective is to begin to model how the team is going to work together to complete the project. The project manager must recognize that first impressions are important. His or her behavior will be carefully monitored and interpreted by the team members. This first meeting should serve as an exemplary role model for subsequent meetings and reflect that leader's style. The primary goal of any meeting is to run a productive one. Whether as part of an elaborate first meeting or during follow-up meetings, the project manager must quickly begin to establish operational ground rules for how the teams will work together. These ground rules involve not only organization and procedural issues, but also normative issues on how the team will interact with each other. Although specific procedures would vary across organizations and projects, some of the major issues that need to be addressed include planning decisions, tracking decisions, managing change decisions, and relationship decisions, and management of subsequent project meetings. The project kickoff meeting is one of several kinds of meetings required to complete a project. Other meetings include status report meetings, problem-solving meetings, and audit meetings. Project managers need to try to make a project team as tangible as possible to the participants by developing a unique team identity to which participants can become emotionally attached to. Effective use of the meetings. Periodic project team meetings provide an important forum for communicating project information. A less obvious function of project meetings is to help establish a concrete team identity. During project meetings, members see that they are not working alone. They are part of a larger project team, and project success depends on the collective efforts of all the team members. The most obvious way to make the project team tangible is to have members work together in a common space. This is not always possible in matrix environments where involvement is part-time and members are working on other projects and activities. A worthwhile substitute for co-location is the creation of a project office, sometimes referred to as the project war room, in some cases a clubhouse. The development of a team name is a common device for making a team more tangible. Frequently, an associated team logo is also created. Again, the project manager should rely on the collective ingenuity of the team to come up with the appropriate name and logo. Nothing reinforces the sense of a team more than working on something together. Just as corporate rituals help establish a unique identity of the firm, similar symbolic actions at the project level can contribute to a unique team subculture. Unlike project scope statements, which include specific costs, completion dates, and performance requirements, a vision involves the less tangible aspects of project performance. It refers to an image a project team holds in common about how the project will look upon completion, how they will work together, and how customers will accept the project. At its simplest level, a shared vision is the answer to the following question: what do we want to create? What a vision is not as important as what it does. A vision inspires members to give their very best. There appear to be four essential qualities of an effective vision. First, it is essential qualities must be able to be communicated. A vision is worthless if it only resides in someone's head. Second, visions have to be challenging but also realistic. Third, the project manager has to believe in the vision. Passion for the vision is an essential element of an effective vision. And finally, it should be a source of inspiration to others. Most project managers we talk to advocate the use of group rewards. Because most project work is collaborative effort, it only makes sense that the reward system would encourage teamwork. Recognizing individual members regardless of their accomplishments can distract from team unity. Project work is highly interdependent, so it can become problematic to distinguish who truly deserves additional credit. Cash bonuses and incentives need to be linked to project priorities. To have value, rewards need to have lasting significance. Many companies convert cash into vacation rewards, sometimes with corresponding time off. That vacation not only will be remembered for years, but it also recognizes spouses and children who, in a sense, also contribute to the project's success. Wise project managers negotiate a discretionary budget so they can reward teams surpassing milestones. While project managers tend to focus on group rewards, there are times when they need to reward individual performance. This is done not only to compensate extraordinary effort, but also signal to others what it takes to go above and beyond. More specifically, among the rewards they use to motivate and recognize individual contributions are the following: letters of commendation. While project managers may not have responsibility for their team members' performance appraisals, they can write letters commending their project performance. Superlative workers should be publicly recognized for their efforts. Good project managers recognize that while they may not have much budgetary authority, they do have substantial control over who does what, with whom, when, and where. Good work should be rewarded with desirable job assignments. Being willing to make exceptions to rules, if done judiciously, can be a powerful reward. Allowing members to work at home when a child is sick or excusing a minor discretion can engender long-lasting loyalty. It is reiterated that individual rewards should be used judiciously, and the primary emphasis should be on the group incentives. Projects encounter problems and decisions that require the collective wisdom of the team members as well as relevant stakeholders. Group decision-making should be used when it will improve the quality of the important decisions. This is often the case with complex problems that require the input of a variety of different specialists. Group decision-making should also be used when strong commitment to the decision is needed. There is a low probability of acceptance if only one person makes that decision. Participation is used to reduce resistance and secure support for the decision. Group decision-making should be called for with controversial problems and which have a major impact on project activities or when trust is low within the project team. Facilitating group decision-making essentially involves 4 major steps. The 4 steps are: problem identification. The project manager needs to be careful not to state the problem in terms of choices. One useful way of defining problems is to consider the gap between where the project is and where it should be. In generating alternatives, once there is a general agreement as to the nature of the problem, then the next step is to generate alternative solutions. Then step 3 is to evaluate and assess the merits of alternative solutions. During this phase, it is useful to have a set of criteria for evaluating the merits of the different solutions. Finally, once the decision has been made and implemented, it is important for the team to find the time to evaluate the effectiveness of the decision. If the decision failed to provide the anticipated solution, then the reason should be explored and the lessons learned added to the collective memory bank of the project team. Project managers should recognize that conflict is an inevitable and even a desirable part of project work. The key is to encourage functional conflict and manage dysfunctional conflict. Project managers need to encourage healthy dissent in order to improve problem solving and innovation. They can demonstrate this process by asking tough questions and challenging the rationale behind recommendations. They can also orchestrate healthy conflict by bringing in people with different points of view to critical meetings. Project managers can legitimize dissent within the team by designating someone to play the role of devil's advocate. Functional conflict plays a critical role in obtaining a deeper understanding of the issues and coming up with the best decisions possible. One of the most important things project managers can do is model an appropriate response when someone disagrees or challenges their ideas. They need to avoid acting defensively and instead of encouraging critical debate. They should exhibit effective listening skills and summarize the key issues before responding. Managing dysfunctional conflict is a much more challenging task than encouraging functional conflict. First, dysfunctional conflict is hard to identify. The second major difficulty managers face is that there is often no easy solution to dysfunctional conflict. Project managers have to decide among a number of different strategies to manage it. There are 5 possibilities. The manager intervenes and tries to negotiate a resolution by using reasoning or persuasion, in other words, mediate the conflict. The manager imposes a solution to the conflict after listening to each party, or be arbitrative in nature. They can also control the conflict by reducing the intensity of the conflict by smoothing over differences or interjecting humor is an effective strategy. In some cases, the conflict would outlive the life of the project, and though a distraction, it is one the manager has to live with or accept. Sometimes the conflict has escalated to the point that it is no longer tolerable. In this case, the manager removes the members involved from the project. In other words, eliminating the conflict. Research has revealed that the sources of conflict change as projects progress along the project life cycle. This figure summarizes the major sources of conflict in each phase. During project definition, the most significant sources of conflict are priorities, administrative procedures, schedule, and workforce. Disputes occur over the relative importance of the project compared with other activities, which project management structure to use, the personnel to be assigned, and the scheduling of the project into existing workloads. During the planning phase, the chief source of conflict remains priorities, followed by schedules, procedures, and technical requirements. This is the phase where the project moves from a general concept to a detailed set of plans. Disagreements often emerge over the final schedule, the availability of resources, communication, and decision-making procedures, and technical requirements for the project. During the execution phase, friction often arises over schedule slippage, technical problems, and staff issues. Milestones become more difficult to meet because of the accumulating schedule slippages. This leads to tension within the team as delays prevent others from starting or completing their work. Managing the trade-offs between time, cost, and performance become paramount. Project managers must decide between letting the schedule slip, investing additional funds to get back on track, or scaling back the scope of the project in order to save time. Technical problems involve finding solutions to unexpected problems and integrating the contributions of different people. The strain of the project may be expressed in interpersonal conflict as well as pressures to use resources more effectively. During the final phase, the delivery phase, schedules continue as the biggest source of conflict as the schedule slippages make it more difficult to meet target completion dates. Pressures to meet objectives coupled with growing anxiety over future assignments increases interpersonal tensions. Technical problems are rare, since most of them have already been worked out during the earlier phases. Rejuvenating the project team. Over the course of a long project, a team sometimes drifts off course and loses momentum. The project manager needs to swing into action to realign the team with the project objectives and step on the pedal. There are both formal and informal ways of doing this. And you can see there are four suggestions for informal techniques and 2 for formal techniques. So I'll just pause and allow you to read them yourself. Building a high-performance project team among a mixture of part-time and full-time members is a challenging task. Consider how much more challenging it is to build a team when members cannot engage in face-to-face interactions. Such would be the case for a virtual project team in which the members are geographically situated so that they may seldom, if ever, meet face-to-face as a team. 2 of the biggest challenges involved in managing a virtual project team are developing trust and effective patterns of communication. Trust is difficult to establish in virtual project management. Unlike working as a traditional team, where members can see whether someone has done what they say they have done, virtual team members depend on the word of distant members. At the same time, it can be difficult to trust someone whom you may have met only once or 2 times or not at all. So how can a project manager facilitate the development of trust within a virtual team? First, it is impossible to hold a face-to-face meeting in the beginning. Managers need to orchestrate the exchange of social information, who everyone is, and some personal background information during the initial electronic interchanges. Second, they need to set clear roles for each team member. Ideally, specific tasks should be assigned to each member so that they can make an immediate contribution to the project. Trust in virtual projects grow through team member reliability, consistency, and responsiveness. The second major challenge for managing a virtual team is to establish effective patterns of communication. Here are some tips for alleviating communication problems and enhancing the performance of virtual teams. First, you certainly would prefer face-to-face at all possible. Then, Keep team members informed on how the overall project is going. Don't let team members vanish. Virtual teams often experience problems getting in touch with each other. Team members need to agree not only on what, when, and how information will be shared, but also how and when they will respond to it. Establish clear norms and protocols for surfacing assumptions and conflicts. Share the pain. Do not require everyone to conform to your time zone and preferences. Rotate the meeting time so that all team members have a turn working according to their own clock. From page 402, a snapshot from practice, managing virtual global teams. A senior program manager from IBM Global Services describes how global time zones were used to complete a time-intensive project. The project required subject matter experts, or SMEs, to document existing best practices in the maintenance domain and to port these into a knowledge management tool. The most proficient SMEs available were on opposite sides of the globe, in Australia, Scotland, and in the United States. Review and control of the project was from the United States. Management quickly realized that just working harder and smarter was not going to meet the time and quality targets. For this project, they used the dimension of time to their benefit, applying sound management principles as well as taking advantages of electronic communication systems. The team was able to create a virtual 24-hour workday for quick responses and accelerated reviews. This figure depicts that 24-hour clock that was used to align their communication schedules. I would like to point out that the program manager did identify a number of lessons learned from that project, and they include: the all-hands kickoff meeting was critical for establishing goals and procedures as well as rules of courtesy. Loosen the reins, establish clear deliverables, and then step out of the way and let the professionals do their work. Third, establish and enforce agreed upon quality standards and deliverable templates. And fourth, maintain a regular schedule of conference calls. Even if it's only to say hello, we have nothing to talk about today. Conference calls should be guided by pre-established agendas, note-taking procedures, and reviews. High-performance project teams can produce dramatic results. However, like any good thing, there is a dark side to project teams that managers need to be aware of. We refer to this phenomena as project-itis. Groupthink. This term refers to the tendency of members in a highly cohesive group to lose their critical evaluative capability. It appears when pressures for conformity are combined with an illusion of invincibility to suspend critical discussion of decisions. As a result, decisions are made quickly with little consideration of alternatives. Often, this practice leads to fiascos that, after the fact, appear totally improbable. Bureaucratic bypass syndrome. Project teams are often licensed to get things done without having to go through normal protocols of the parent organization. Bypassing bureaucratic channels is appealing and invigorating. However, if bypassing becomes a way of life, it results in the rejection of bureaucratic policies and procedures which provide the glue for the overall organization. A team that operates outside the organization may alienate other workers who are constrained by the norms and procedures of the organization. Eventually, these outside bureaucrats will find ways to put up roadblocks and thwart the project team. Team spirit becomes team infatuation. High-performance project teams can be a tremendous source of personal satisfaction. The excitement, chaos, and joy generated by working on a challenging project can be an invigorating experience. Team members become infatuated with the challenge of the project and the talent around them. This total preoccupation with the project and the project team, while contributing greatly to the remarkable success of the project, can leave it in its wake a string of broken professional and personal relationships that contribute to burnout and disorientation upon completion of the project. Going native. Going native is a phrase used by the British Foreign Service during colonial times to describe agents who assume the customs, values, and prerogatives of their foreign country assignment. They did so to the point that they were no longer representing the best interests of the British government, but rather those of the natives. This same phenomena can occur within project teams working abroad or in those who become closely identified with the customers. In essence, the customer's interests take precedence over the parent organization's interests. This change in viewpoint can lead to excessive scope creep and open defiance of the corporate policies and interests.